Warriors beat the Nuggets. 3 great news right now, urgent. Warriors fans, pay attention. Victory over the Nuggets and 3 good news have dropped now. In less than 30 seconds, I'll tell you why today is a day to smile. An encouraging update on Curry, a table scenario that paves the way and a clear sign of momentum for the team. But there's a hidden detail in the numbers that few people noticed. Stay with me until the end of this short video to take the 3 in order and understand how this changes the direction of the Warriors. Let's go. If this victory cheered you up, leave a like now. This makes the video available to more fans and helps me provide quick analysis whenever I post hot news. And subscribe to the channel and activate the bell, because in 60 seconds I reveal news number 1, the information that could change the outlook for the playoffs. Let's keep going. Take a deep breath with me, because today there is a lot of good things to unpack. If you're a Golden State Warriors fan, you know exactly what I'm talking about. 2 games, 2 wins, and a home opener script that seems to have been written to get your heart racing. Those final minutes in which the clock becomes the protagonist and each possession seems to decide an entire chapter of the season. The game against the Denver Nuggets was like that. An avalanche of moments, a turnaround built play by play, and a clear demonstration of what differentiates a team that competes from a team that believes. The Warriors believed, and that changes everything. Let's start with the obvious, what you and I have seen, and yet it's hard to sink in. Stephen Curry. There are nights when the basket seems bigger, when the ball leaves your hand with the serenity of someone who already knows the end. It was one of those nights. 42 points, but not just the raw number, the context, the sequence, the feeling that whenever the game called for a huge shot, he responded with surgical precision, whether it was a moving 3, an improbable long-distance shot, or a floater in traffic. There are those who ask for it to fall out of production, as if age were enough of an argument to disconnect one of the greatest in history from its own competitive engine. It didn't fall. Not now. Not while this team needs him to be a lighthouse and a trail at the same time. Look at the most tense part of the match. There were just under 3 minutes left. The score read 116-109 for Denver. The arena was restless, and the feeling of "it was close" surrounded every fan. From then on, the Warriors closed the 4th quarter and overtime on a 28-5 run. It's much more than a pretty statistic. It's a portrait of execution, resilience, and collective reading. And of course, in that stretch, Curry alone surpassed Denver's score. It's not just individual genius. It's the way his offensive gravity reorganizes the opposing defense, opens up corridors, changes marking priorities, and allows others to find their own rhythm. And speaking of the others, we need to talk about the final quintet and the symbolic weight of a bold closure. The formation with Stephen Curry, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Jonathan Kuminga, and Al Horford didn't come from habit. It wasn't prepared exhaustively in training camp. It didn't have real game mileage. It was a courageous choice, built in the heat of the circumstance, and validated by the way each piece fit its function. Chemistry doesn't always require months. Sometimes it reveals itself when you play the right bet at the right moment. Jimmy Butler was one of the emotional turning points of the night, not just by throwing the top of the bottle's head, the one that, in any narrative, earns the stamp of dagger, for the coldness with which it widens the difference and conditions the outcome. Butler's impact goes further. It's possession management, it's defensive reading, it's the voice that organizes the transition between "we need to run" and "we need to breathe." The 6 assists without a single waste of the ball tell a story of discipline and correct choice, move after move. When the game got tough, he didn't hide. He attracted contact, carried the defense to the line, and maintained the confidence that infects the group. It's the kind of presence that, sooner or later, redefines conversations about contract extensions not as a problem on the horizon, but as part of sustainable construction. Draymond Green was Draymond Green in the best possible sense. Connective, combative, necessary. His defensive performance, especially in moments of greatest tension, is worth more than numbers. In some games, Draymond's contribution is measured by what the opponent fails to do. And when Nikola Jokic is pushed into uncomfortable shots, when the league's most creative center loses timing in 2 or 3 possessions in a row, you can feel Draymond's invisible hand directing rotations, directing help points and correcting empty spaces. Even so, there was intelligent offensive volume and providential three-pointers, which serves as a reminder. When the Warriors strike the balance brio between aggression and patience, Draymond finds the ideal place in the gear. Now, hold that thought and come back with me to a very specific moment in the match at the end of regulation time. Jokic and Jamal Murray started the action as two, and on the other side of the court, Aaron Gordon already had 50 points. Nothing more contextual. The defense tends to close in the center to contain the pick and roll, but that's precisely where a micro-decision changes the axis. Jonathan Kuminga instinctively projects himself into the ball zone. Jimmy Butler, attentive, makes the fine adjustment. One touch, a quick command, and the instruction is clear. Go back to Gordon, he's hot. It's a detail that doesn't shine in the box score, but weighs on the result. The pass rolls, Jokic's finish comes under challenge, Kuminga closes with an explosion and gets the block. A possession turned around by the sum of two intelligences, that of the veteran who reads the risk, and that of the young man who follows the reading with discipline. Let's talk then about Jonathan Kuminga. There is a particular satisfaction in seeing an athlete who, for so long, has been defined by potential show-consistent signs of maturity. No out-of-time hero ball, no shortcuts. He hits well, runs the court, occupies spaces without the ball, chooses when to attack the closeout. When he needed to, he killed a heavy three-pointer. When the game asked for physicality, it delivered physicality. When the game called for calm, he avoided the forced pass. It is this set of small decisions that transforms a talent into a game-ending piece. And yes, he claims it in all words. He is buying the team's collective proposal. Next to him, Al Horford handled the scolding like few others at 39 years old. It's nothing new that Horford understands defensive time like few others, but it's emblematic to see him, in the middle of extra time, neutralizing angles, shortening spaces, and forcing mid-range shots when everything around him is boiling. A three-ball attack to crown the night, and a commitment to detail that even resists the fact that it won't be available in back-to-back games. When the coaching staff opts for the five best defenders who also know what to do with the ball, Horford is naturally in that conversation. And this time, he justified every minute. Still, you can't sweep the challenges under the rug. The perimeter defense for long stretches was permissive. Jamal Murray received infiltration lines that in big games tend to be expensive. Aaron Gordon found free shots frequently, and 50 points from the same player is a warning loud enough to echo in the locker room. It's true. The Warriors forced important turnovers, turned the turnover battle around, and, in the end, compensated with superior offensive execution. But if the objective is to aim high, that's where the effort needs to rise. Shortening spaces on the perimeter, reducing the need for dramatic rotations, and living less in survival when the opponent sets the pace. In this same framework, a paragraph is worth writing for Brandon Podziemski. The number on the individual scoreboard was honest, the energy too, and the choice not to close him in the final quintet does not reduce the importance of the 34 minutes on the court. There is growth in this experience. Closing with a bigger and more defensive quintet was a reading of the context, not an anticipated verdict. On nights like this, the best news for a young guard is that he has contributed enough to be in every rotation conversation. And on the other side of the spectrum, let's save a well-deserved space for Will Richard. Not every impact needs to scream. Sometimes it manifests itself in constant availability in the dunker spot, in the open competition for offensive rebounds, in a correct reading for the inside-out pass. When the three-ball fell, at a time when the game called for cold blood, it wasn't lightning in a blue sky. It was the consequence of an attentive presence, which didn't surrender to what had gone wrong 2 moves earlier. That counts. It counts a lot. In a deep cast, those who play the role and respond under pressure gain momentum in the rotation. And yes, the coaching staff has a good dilemma on its hands when depth turns into real draft decisions. Perhaps what excites me most about this initial 2-0 is not the unbeaten record itself, but the type of victory that the team built. Turn, rude opponent, adjustments to game heat, a closure with an unprecedented combination, protagonism of the star and supporting actors appearing at the exact points of need. This is the skeleton of a season that could mature well. It's not a guarantee of anything. The NBA demands it, everyone adjusts. but it's an indication of identity, a team that doesn't surrender to its own script when the score is tight, and that has multiple ways to create an advantage. There are, of course, tasks for tomorrow. If Al Horford doesn't play in a sequence of days, someone needs to occupy the physical and tactical space he provides. If Moses Moody returns, what changes in the rotation? How to preserve offensive aggressiveness without opening lack together on the perimeter? How can we repeat the discipline of the final quarter during the previous 12 minutes? These questions are not problems, are the map. They are an invitation to progress in October when the adjustments are valid for April. I want you, on the other side, to think with me about 3 images from the match, as if we were reviewing the best moments together. The moment Curry receives the ball more than 9 meters from the basket, breathes as if he were in training, and sets up the shot with the naturalness of someone who trusts the work more than the moment. The ball falls, the arena stumbles with its own noise, and the opposing team, for a second, remembers that they are playing against someone who changes the geometry of the court. The micro-conversation between Butler and Kuminga, the one in which a decision of centimeters changes a possession. This scene is the synthesis of what makes a team. The veteran who sees the trap, and the young man who has the humility to follow the reading, the confidence to execute, and the explosion to finish the play. Horford's closeout on a 3-point shot that looked free. It wasn't a block, it wasn't a classic highlight, but it was enough to take the ball off the axis and delay the trigger for a second. Sometimes the detail is just that, a raised arm at the right time, an extra step, the correct choice of angle, and the game, accumulating details, changes direction. If we had to close this chapter with one sentence, I would choose this. The Warriors displayed a competitive character. When the team needs it most, that's what separates it from a good shooting night. Competitive character is insisting on defense even when it fails. It is reorganizing the attack when the hand weighs. It is believing that the next possession can redefine the whole. That's why victories like this don't end with the final score. They extrapolate to the next training session, to the film room, to the conversation on the plane. They feed collective belief. If you follow the channel, you know that I'm not seeing illusions. I also saw what went wrong. The external defense needs to respond faster. The team cannot allow so many easy points from a strong opponent, and adjustments to contain successive infiltrations have to come sooner. At the same time, separate these notes and keep what went well. The team kept its head on straight when the score took off. The bench produced useful minutes. The veterans got the shortcuts right, and the stars were stars when they were needed most. There is a lot of season ahead, yes, but there is also concrete material to believe that this team has the layers to compete at a high level. I want to hear you. Would you close with this same quintet? Would you keep your bet on size and defensive versatility for the final minutes? What role do you design for Kuminga when the opponent tightens the passing lines? And how do you distribute minutes when Moody is back, considering Will Richards' quiet but real impact? Tell me in the comments. Exchanging ideas is part of the game. While you think about the answers, I leave you with one last thought. Teams that win games like this at the beginning of the calendar usually win 2 things that don't appear in the box score. The first is time. Time to make mistakes and adjust without the anguish of a lukewarm start. The second is confidence, the conviction that when the storm comes, and it always does, there is a path back that has already been taken. Today, the Warriors paved part of that path. So, if you enjoy in-depth analysis, candid conversation, and daily content about the Golden State Warriors, you know what to do. Sign up, turn on notifications, and come with me to follow every step of this journey. Because if the second game of the season has already given us this cinematic plot, imagine what is yet to come. And as always, we follow together. Come on, Dubs. We close like this. If today you felt your heart racing, imagine experiencing this roller coaster with tactical reading, behind the scenes, video cuts, and numbers that explain each twist, all gathered in one place. This game was no accident. It was a manifesto of what the Warriors could be. And if you want to continue deciphering every adjustment from Kerr, every run from Curry, and every step in Kuminga's evolution, the next click is obvious. Press play now on Playlist Warriors Analysis. There you find breakdown of decisive plays frame by frame, defensive readings and counter adjustments that do not appear in the box score, X-ray of rotations, closing minutes and why they work, projections for the next games with clear scenarios, what needs to be repeated and what needs to change. Don't leave it for later. Enter the playlist, binge the episodes, and come back here to comment on what you saw. Bring your reading, agree, contest, join the discussion. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and we will transform each match into applicable knowledge for the next duel. It's now. Click on the Warriors Analysis playlist and come with me to watch basketball the way those who love the game deserve. Come on, DUBs.